Okay, we're starting section 2.4. We've done addition and subtraction, and we learned more about using our app key, or actually our matrix key on the TI 84 and 83. And now we're going to talk about multiplication of matrices. And the first part is, and I wrote this right, the construction of a matrix replaces the construction of a linear system without expected outcomes. So understanding this and knowing that mathematics only has 4 operations, add, subtract, multiply, divide, this section allows us to delve into multiplication process to a matrix. And that's exactly what we're going to do. And I got this from our textbook, and it talks about scalar multiplication. Scalar means a number. It's a scalar, a number, and it is distributed through the whole matrix. I'm going to do one by hand. I will do it by calculator. So let's look at this guy right here. Notice we want to find -2 times matrix A plus 4 times matrix B. So if we were doing this, we would say -2 in front of my matrix of 3 and 2, 6, and -7. And then I would put plus 4 and my matrix 5, 7, 4, and 2. This would lead me to the matrix -6, -4, -12, and +14. Added to 4 times the matrix, and it's an every number. 4 times 5 is 20. 4 times 7, 28. 4 times 4, 16. And 4 times 2 is 8. Well, now we have them all in matrix, so we're going to add them. And that would give me a -6 plus a 20, a -4 plus a 28. On row 2, I'd have a -12 plus a 16 and a 14 plus an 8. Now remember, these are just data entries for some kind of mathematics. We're not solving anything. We're just doing some combinations here still with a scalar multiplier. When I do this, then I'm going to have the new matrix, which is going to be a 2 by 2. It's going to be a 14, a 24, a 4, and a 22. All right. So the next thing we want to do is do it by calculator. So we're going to do second matrix and enter our first one, enter on B the second one, and then we're going to put it on the home screen. All right, now I'm going to do this with you so that you can see it, but I have already printed it out for you so that we don't have any problems with taking time for me to, copy and paste. And that was the whole deal. I'm taking too much time if I copy and paste while I'm doing it. So we're going to go to second matrix and we're going to go to edit. We're going to enter. It's a 2 by 2. So now I'm going to enter A, which is 3, 2, 6, and -7. It's a good check to see if I've done the math right. I'm going to go second matrix and edit, and I'm going to go to B, and it's a 2 by 2. So now I'm going to type over it and put a 5, and a 7 and a 4 and a 2. And I'm going to check to make sure I have the correct numbers, and it looks like I do. So I'm going to go on my home screen, and I'm going to put a -2 second matrix, and I'm naming A, plus 4 second matrix. We have exactly the problem that's listed, and I hit enter, and I have 1424. I'm going to move this calculator over here, and I'm going to move this. Let's see what I have. 14, 24, 4, and 22. So you can see that using the calculator is pretty beneficial, and it is small math, but you want to enjoy the fact that I have required that for this course. All right, so now we're going to do the product of two matrices. And notice that in this one, that A is an M by N, and let B be an N by K. All right, to find the elements of the nth row and uh, the JN column of the product. So what it means, all of that gibberish there, means that we have row of matrix A, row of A, means this way, times column of B. Okay, and that gives you 1, and it's added. Like long multiplication. Once you do the product, you add vertically. Well, that's what you're doing here. So that's what it is. So we're going to do this one, right? And this one's easy because we have a 2 by 2 square matrix, and this is a 2 by 1. All right. So this means I'm going to have my row times my column. Here we go. So I'm going to have a -4, 3, plus a 9 times a -6. Then I'm going to have a -9 times a 3 plus a -7 times a -6. All right, so what am I going to get? All right, so this is going to be a -12 minus 54. This is going to be a -27 plus a 42. I'm finally there. This gives me the matrix of 66 negative. Sorry about that. Give me, what is that going to give me? -27 plus the 42, and I think it's in the teens. Yeah, 15. I just didn't want to make a mistake for you. All right, so this is doing it longhand. In other words, it's row times column, row times column. All right, so in our calculator, we would just hit times in between. But I wanted to do the short one so that you understand what's taking place. Row times column. All right, so now for the calculator, we would do the same thing. We would do, I'm going to clear that. I'm going to do second matrix, and we're going to edit, and it's going to be a 2 by 2. And we're going to do a -4, 9, a -9, and a -7. All right, so hopefully I did that right. I'm going to do a 2 by 1. All right. Oops, sorry. Clear that. Second matrix. It would help if I'm in the right area, right? I'm going to go to edit and I'm going to go to 2. And it's going to be a 2 by 1. And I'm going to do a 3 and a negative 6. Here we are. So I'm going to do a second quit on the home screen. I am going to enter the multiplication, and that means I just get to name them. Second matrix, A, oops, sorry, let me clear that. Second matrix, A, and then second matrix, name B, and enter. Negative 66 and 15. So there you have it, to do the multiplication. All right. Now, it is funny about what we get. Notice that we started with a 2 by 2 and we multiplied by a 2 by 1 and we got a 2 by 1, which is what they were saying. You get whatever the second matrix you're multiplying is. Now remember, you have to have the columns of A equal the rows of B. That's very crucial in multiplication. So let's look at this guy right here. And we're going to do it longhand. Let me cut that. 70 below. Okay. Sorry. Got it? All right. There we go. Now we can. All right. So we notice that we have a 2 by 2. And this one is a 2 by 3. So in our rows, in our column, we have a 2, and we have a 2 in our row. So these have to match in order for multiplication to take place. So we have that. So let's do this math. All right. So we're going to have a negative 1 times a 1, a plus 2 times a 4. And then I'm going to have the same row, a negative 1 times a 2 plus a 2 times a negative 4. Because I'm going this way. Now I've got the third one. So I'm going to have a negative 1 times a negative 2 plus a 2 times a 0. All right. And you can see how long this is. That's why we're going to be using the calculator. Little math, but it's annoying. 3 times a 1 plus 6 times a 4. Then I'm going to have a 3 times a 2 plus a 6 times a negative 4. Then I'm going to have a 3 times a negative 2 plus 6 times a 0. All right. So the row was 3, 6. And columns were 1, 4, 2, negative 4, negative 2, and 0. So this guy right here is now becoming, and I'm going to do the math underneath, I'm going to have a negative 1 plus an 8. Then I'm going to have a negative 2 minus 8. And then I'm going to have a negative, no, it's a positive 2 plus a 0. On the next line, I'm going to have a 3 plus a 24. I'm going to have a 6 minus 24. And I'm going to have a negative 6 plus a 0. All right, so now I'm finally at the end here, and I get a 7, negative 10, and a 2. And then on this line, I'm going to get a 27, and this is a negative, what is that, 6, 14, 18, negative 18. Is that good math? And then I'm going to have a negative 6. All right. So if we did that by calculator, I would, and it has to be entered in the correct order. I'm going to clear it. I'm going to do a second matrix, and I'm going to edit, and I'm going to have a 2 by 2, so I'm good there. And then I'm going to enter the negative 1, the 2, the 3, the 6. All right, so I got that one. I'm going to do second matrix, and I'm going to edit, and I'm going to go to B, and this time I have a 2 by 3. I'm going to enter a 2, a negative 2, a 4, a negative 4, a 0, and I have it. There you go. I got it, hopefully. All right, I'm going to go on my home screen, and I'm going to do multiplication. Second matrix, A, second matrix, and we'll go to B. And that's exactly what I got. Very good. Is everybody comfortable? Now remember, you can pause this video anytime you choose to make sure you're getting everything I want you to do. Now see, this one is a 2 by 3, and this is a 3 by 2. All right. Well, we can see that 3's match. So we have go, Houston, on multiplication. But we're going to do it by calculator. And so let's do that. And that'll save us eventually some time as you get better at it. Now for starters. There we go. You can see it, hopefully. And we're going to go second matrix. Oops, clear. Second matrix. And we're going to edit. And we're doing a 2 by 3. We're going to enter a negative 2, a negative 5, a 5, a negative 1, a 3, and a 2. And then we're going to go second matrix. We're going to edit the B, and it is a 3 by 2. I'm going to enter a 3, a negative 3, a 5, a 2, a 0, and a 2. All right. So I've entered everything I can. Let me I'm going to capture this screen. I don't have it down on my notes. All right, so I put one of them on there. And now what I'm going to do is work the problem. So I'm going to go on my home screen. Second matrix. So you know that I did enter it. So I'm going to do A, and then I'm going to do second matrix, B, and enter. And I'm going to capture that guy. That's what we have for that guy. Oh, sorry. So you can see that we got, oh, we should have had a 3 by 2. There's something wrong. Oh, we do. We get a 2 by 2. Back. Let me do tricks. First one is a 2 by 3, and the second one is a 3 by 2. Yeah. Hey, we're good, Houston. Yes, we are good. And that's what we get. And this is the solution. It's a negative 31, a 6, 12, and a 13. There you go. All right. Now, this one is an order of operations entry. And because this last one is what it is, um, we have a condition where we have to insert a parentheses as seen in problem. So we've got our matrices, which is a 3 by 2, a 2 by 2. These match, so we're good. From this, we're going to get a problem there, and this one is a 2 by 1. Again, they match. So it'll all work. And when you do, you're going to get what is in the last, a negative 11, 20, negative 20, and a 9, our calculator. So right here is our application problem. And this application problem has 4 departments, 1 through 4, and then it has types, and it has paper, tape, binders, memo pads, and pens. And what happens is each department sends in a request for what they need of these 5 categories. And then the unit price that they use is from 2 suppliers, supplier A and B. And those are the cost per item. Notice the suppliers are 2, and these guys' categories become the listing if you want total cost. This is here. All right. So what we want is what are the constructions of 2 matrices can be represented for the information above. All right. So let's do that. So this guy right here, this matrix is going to be 11, 5, 3, 4, and 7. Then we'll have 6, 3, 2, 3, and 8. And this one is 5, 6, 1, 0, 9, 0, 2, 6, 6, 6. All right. So we have a 4 by 5, right? matrix. Now this guy here is going to be a 2, a 5, a 1 and a 1, that's money, 4 and 4, 3 and 3. You notice most of them match and some are less expensive. And this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 by 2 because we have 2 suppliers. So we wrote that, and now what we want to do, and I wrote them alongside them. So let me remove that right there. What we're going to do is the second part. Okay, let me get that. Use my other pencil. Okay, so I am going to move that guy up. Oh, there you go. So now use the matrix multiplication to get the matrix showing the composite cost of each department. All right. So what we're going to do on this one is we're going to enter those in our calculator. That would be way too much math to do. Second matrix, and we're going to edit. And this one is a 4 by 5. Enter our numbers. 1, 5, 3, 4, 7, 6, 3, 2, 8, 5, 6, 2, 5, 6. Oops, 1. Sorry about that. 1, 0, 9, 0, 2, 6, 6, 6. All right. So I'm going to go second matrix. I'm going to edit and I'm going to do a B. Oops. Second matrix. Second matrix. Sorry about this. And I'm going to edit. I'm going to go to B. Enter. And this is a 5 by 2. And I'm 1 and 1. 4 and 4. 3 and 3. And a 1 and 1. Okay. So now I'm going to do second matrix. 1. Second matrix. 2. As it is. And enter. And I get this guy right here. 58, 40, 29, 50. Okay, and we have same values for certain things, uh, depending on what we had listed. All right. So now what we want to do is figure out the cost for each of them. So we're gonna add the columns because we have supplier 1, and supplier 2. 8, the 40, the 29, and the 50. And we have the 81. This is per item, 44 and 50. All right. So as we add them, 7 for the cost. $243, was it? 243 if I did the math right. And in this exercise, they're going to ask you to fill in the blanks about what happened. The total cost is $177, $243. Now, to assess the cost, a decision of the order to be made. Well, in this case, supplier, well, the first supplier, or A. From the departments. All right, so there you have it. Now we have one more of these small word problems. And again, we're talking cars. And here's the last one for this section. It's going very well. A dealership has new and used cars and trucks. The following matrices give the number of vehicle size for the first quarter of the year. So we want the quarter sales. Now we can do it by calculator and do what we need to do, or do it by hand. This one's kind of small, so we're okay. So we want January plus February plus March. So we're going to do the first two. 17 plus 16, 11 plus 16, 23 plus 35, and I think that's 18 plus 35. All right, plus that last month. 18, 18, 32, 23. Right. So this guy becomes 33 and 27. This becomes 58 and 13. It's 53. All right. So this would leave me our last movement. 33 plus 18, 27 plus 18, 58 plus 32, and 53 plus 23. And we get our last one. You can do it by calculator. Whatever you find most comfortable. I think on multiplication, I would like you to use it. It gets pretty involved sometimes. And so we want to make sure that we have it. All right, so we're going to have 51, 45, and then we're going to have 90 and 66, it looks like. Oh, let's see what I have there. Plus 23. Kind of wrong, seems like. This part right here is 53. Yep. And this is 32 and 23. Yep. And that makes it a 76. Right. Now, this is the totals, but we want the average. So we're going to take 1/3 of this sky. That should be 66. Do here. 40, 53, 18, and oh, there it is. I was going to say, that's not going to come out right. It's going to come out even. That's 25. Sorry about that. My eyeballs when I see it. Sorry. Oh, we got it because it's got to come out. Because I'm taking 1/3 to make the average. All right, so now the average for the quarter is going to be 1/3 of 51 is 17. 1/3 of 45 is 15. 1/3 of 90 is 30. And 1/3 of 66 is 22. All right, so this is the average sales of new and used cars and trucks for first quarter of year. So much for listening. Somehow I picked up on the matrices the wrong number right here, and so I had to go back and said it didn't divide. So you're going to have plain numbers when you do this homework. Now that you've seen it, practice with your calculator and have a good time doing the homework. It should be easier now. Thank you for listening.